Legion Tactical Cutlery.
Hold the line!
Hey everyone, how you guys doing? Grugs here, Legion Tactical Cutlery. Welcome back, troops, legionnaires, and any new recruits. Wow, what a cool fall day today, but fortunate enough to be back out and testing out the Eafengrow EF973 Flipper Folder in D2 steel. I am really excited. It's my first Eafengrow folder that I'll be testing out. Let's get to it. What's everybody carrying today? Well, beside the Eafengrow that I'll be testing, I am carrying that. And as my primary carry today, because I'm out in the woods, I've got my Eafengrow EF148. These two are going to complement each other perfectly. Now, I am carrying this in my backpack in a pocket. I decided not to carry it on my hip, so I'm going to be depending more on my folder. Veterans, active military, as always, just want to say thank you very much for your service. Please enjoy the video. Quick specs, let's get this done. Once again, this is the Eafengrow EF973, my first folder from Eafengrow. All right, we are looking at an overall length of 9-inch, blade length 4.1 inch, blade steel is D2, blade width is 1.02 inch, blade hardness is 58 to 60 HRC, blade thickness is 4 millimeters, blade lock is a liner lock, handle length is 4.9 inch, handle material is a black micarta, knife weight is 5.22 ounce. It does feature a pocket clip, lanyard hole, and ball bearing pivot. It's also a flipper folder. Pretty big folder in my opinion. I mean, look how, when I grip it, how much more room you've got over here, at least 2 more fingers. So I am definitely liking the size of this blade, but an excellent clip point right there. Flat ground, it does have a bit of a swedge, small sharpening choil, guard, and also a flipper. Awesome micarta scales, stainless steel liners. It does have a pocket clip for, you know, somewhat deep carry, not all the way. However, the pocket clip is not ambidextrous, unfortunately. But other than that, this knife is, you know, for a big folder, it's pretty good. So perfect companion to the other Eafengrow EF148, although this is the star of the show. I am going to be doing some slight work with this knife, nothing too heavy duty, because, you know, as you could see, I also have a saw in the background, and I have that that camp knife butt in case you're not readily, you know, have access to those 2 items, and this is in your pocket. Well, guess what I'm going to use? So I'm going to test it out. Now, I just want to let everybody know I did slight modification. At first, the detent was a little loose, so a subscriber recommended what I should do. So for the first time, you know, I took this off and I bent this slightly, the liner, and now you could see it's engaged all the way to the right, which makes for a very, very sturdy blade. So I'm pretty happy about it. And I also added a little bit of Loctite on some of the screws, and she's working just fine, but I wanted to disclose that to everybody. So now that you've seen this awesome blade, pocket folder, let's do some work with it. Okay, once again, small demonstration. I don't recommend anybody doing what I'm going to do. It's just to test out the knife. This is a knife channel that tests out knives. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to split this piece of wood, make quarters out of it. Let's say I wake up early in the morning. I'm in a camp environment. Maybe I just have my saw with me in this knife, and I was able to cut a piece of wood. Now I just want to make some quarters for feather sticks. Again, maybe I just want to do a cup of coffee, you know what I mean? So I'll put this in a 90-degree angle and just use the knife to split the wood a little bit. Okay, did a fine job. We're looking good. I'll pick that other piece up in a second. Now let's make some more quarters. Wow, that lock is really engaged now, you know. A little difficult with the gloves, so just know that, but it's kind of chilly out here, and then, you know, sometimes some people are just forced to use the gloves to keep warm. However, as you can see, not bad. Okay, so I got a couple quarters over here. Let me grab that other piece that just fell on the floor, and I'll quarter that also. I guess the star here is what I'm trying to prove is the D2 steel from Eafengrow. It's also a pretty nice thick blade. You know, it's 4 millimeters, they're saying. Okay. Now again, I have a saw, but I'm able to cut it up into smaller pieces, you know, using my folder without damaging the stop bar, without damaging the liner lock, etc. So I even can make some smaller pieces here if I wanted to. I mean, if I had a, you know, firebox stove. Let's do it one more time. Perfect, you know. This is a pretty big piece. Let's cut this one in half. Let's get it a little bit smaller. So this way, if you just need to boil some water, make a cup of coffee, you don't need a huge, you know, campfire, because you're going to be packing up and moving on your way, hiking. Maybe you're on the Appalachian Trail or one of those trails, and you're carrying light. All right, it's not perfect. It doesn't have to be. You just want to start up a small fire, and here you go. All right, so not bad at all. You know, maybe you don't like the idea of batoning your folder, you know, for whatever reason. Lately, what I've learned to do is, you know, is to, and if the knife is sharp enough, you know, just use my hand and then split the wood, okay? It's a little bit harder, but it's going to save you from using the knife as, you know, for those anti-batoners out there. And it works, you know, it definitely works. Okay, and knife is looking good so far. Opens up, there's no rattle. Again, very light work, right? I've got heavy duty knife to do the heavier stuff, but again, yeah, maybe you just have this knife and a saw, and you know, you want small, light campfires, you know what I mean? You don't want anything heavy duty. Here you go. Let's do one more. This one's a little bit tougher, but again, you know, if you're not into batoning, just want to use the sharpness of the knife and the wedge of the blade, it's capable. Might take a little bit more time, but doable. Okay, even using some force to split this open. But here you go. Okay, once again, you want a small little fire, boil some water. There you go. We're looking good here, no rattle. Whoops. Let's get that out of the way. Okay, we're looking good now. Let's make some individual curls and feather sticks with this. I got a few nice feather sticks that I just processed. Maybe, just maybe, I want to use, you know, the point to make a little bit smaller, whoops, smaller size feather sticks. Okay, I just made a nice split in the front, and now I'm going to use the knife to pry open the feather sticks. Or again, you know, once again, you can use the sharpness of the blade to go all the way through the knife, I mean the piece of wood. Okay, let's take off the bark. We're looking good here. That's a nice feather stick. So see if I can make this a little bit thinner. Whoop, it broke. That's okay, it doesn't matter. You could use this as kindling. I know it's not perfect, but let's make individual curls. Very dry piece of wood, so this will start up quick. In fact, let me take off my gloves, because now that I'm just making the curls and feather sticks, I guess I don't need them. And my hands are warm enough. Let me just put that down. Very dry piece of wood. Okay, that's a nice little pile right here. And once again, we're looking good. The liner lock is looking good. It opens up real nice. No blade play, and I'm not doing anything heavy duty. All right, so just a little slight batoning, except in this type of configuration, no pressure on the stop bar and no damage to the liner lock. And as you can see, it's done me justice so far. So now just make a feather stick for everybody. Nice hard dry piece of wood, man. It hasn't rained here in a while, so things have really dried up over here. I'm sure most of you will carry some form of a stove, little lightweight stove, you know, if you don't feel like making a campfire to boil your water, etc. But if you're an avid outdoorsman and you enjoy your knives, you're a minimalist and you want to, you know, use your tools to boil some water for a cup of coffee, tea, what have you, rest assured this knife is going to help you out. And if not mistaken, a lot of the people on the trail, sometimes they do go to, you know, camp spots where everybody just hangs out. And I'm assuming, and I don't know, I'm assuming you have the opportunity, you know, maybe a table or whatever, and you just do what you got to do for the day. Okay, so that's a decent feather stick. Now I'm going to make a few more off camera, and we'll move on from there. Found this long branch on the floor. It's going to be a perfect example. I'm going to just do maybe a little bit of delimbing right here. Okay, easy task, nothing, you know, heavy duty. But again, instead of breaking out the big knife or whatever, you got your pocket folder, and you know, you're using the sharpness of the blade to delimb for whatever reason. Right, because maybe you need a piece of this for the tent stake, right? So let's make this a more manageable piece right here. So what I'll do is I'll start, you know, cutting this all around to make it a smaller piece. And again, I know I could break this in half, but I just want to show everybody how sharp this is. Now this is nice and green, this piece of wood, but it was the only thing I found on the floor. A little bit awkward, but and slowly but surely I will cut all the way around it until I am able to snap. Maybe it's a little bit, you know, bigger piece. But in any case, you want a little bit of precision, you know? And the nice, you know, the handle is big. So you get a nice purchase on the blade, you know, if you need to do some of these carving tasks. Okay, so now let's see. Easy, see that? So again, if it was a bigger piece, now let me get rid of this because this was really awkward. And now you've got the right piece that you wanna work with. Can even do a little bit of chopping here. Now once again, let me make this a little bit smaller. Again, for whatever reason, you're looking for precision, right? So you don't want to just snap it. Whatever the scenario is, you know, you need to make a dowel. Yes, I did cut myself, so off that branch. And just a reminder to everybody, make sure when you're doing any kind of work with a knife, you have some kind of a first aid kit with you, at least a Band-Aid. But you get the idea. Whoops. This is a really green piece. You know, maybe you want to practice your tri-stick. You've got some downtime in the at your campsite, and you want to practice your bushcraft skills. You also want to get used to your knife, your new knife that you purchase. You know, you got to get used to that tool. I mean, many times I come out here, I'm always learning, you know what I mean? But I am testing out the knife, so, and this is my first Eafengrow folder, which is awesome. I love how big it is. I mean, as hunters, you could really, you know, get into game. It's got some reach. So that's not ready yet. Not the way I like it. Well, let's keep going. And now I can really dig in. I'm also watching out for the bucks around here, because there's a big 8-pointer, and you know, it's rut season, man. So got to be careful. Here we go. It's a little on the green side, so it's not snapping off easy. All right, good. Well, let's keep going then. There we go, see? Nice. Put that down. Okay, maybe you need this flat for whatever reason. So instead of snapping it, but you need this type of size, here you go. All right, now, once again, even though I did some carving, if you need to do some more finer work, and again, I use the tent stake as an example because it's easy to make and it pretty much gets my point across, you know? So you can see, still pretty sharp because I'm just nicely whittling away the bark. Whatever, maybe your project does not include the bark for whatever reason, and you need to whittle it away, you can. Right? You're making a dowel, the dowel, you know, again, whatever the scenario is, I'm sure people have experienced it. They don't need the bark. In fact, you know what? Let's get rid of all the bark. How's that? I could save this too, let it get nice and dry, and then use it to burn, right? Maybe not the greatest piece. I don't know if that's rotting in there. But again, see, I want to get rid of that little rotted area. I'm using the knife to do it. All right, once again, I got the nice chamfered piece over here. Maybe this is a dowel to a small table. You never know. But we're gonna make a tent stake out of this, so let's make the number 7 notch. Now, you know, a little light batoning like this with the lock and gauge isn't gonna hurt it. Let's say I want to, you know, put a small notch in here. A little light batoning isn't going to hurt the knife. So I've got the notch, and now I can dig my number 7. All right, there you go. Not bad. This is, I picked up a really green piece. Wow, holy cow. I kind of like the green pieces because it does get my point across quicker, you know? Using that front part of the blade to get real specific. All right, that looks good. Now, point. Well, actually, you know what? I want to try something a little bit different. Instead of a point, there we go. I think this is one of the processes of making a tri-stick. All right, we make a wedge over here, you know? Just an example of carving, that's all. Something a little bit different than me making a point. Now, I do the same thing all the time, but I do that on purpose. You know, again, making a tent stake is one of the most effective ways I could get across to people, you know, the capability of this knife. So, you know, it did the job, man. Mission accomplished. And it's you know, still pretty sharp. See, I'm making some nice little slices here. The wood is slippery, man. Wow. You can see I'm making these nice thin little slices here. So we're looking good, okay? Let's test out this spine. I'm kind of curious. All right, we're going to test out the spine over here. And I noticed that it is rounded off, but I want to test it and see what, if it'll scrape at least some fat wood over here and spark a ferro rod. Now, I have no illusions. I carry a lighter with me all the time, but things go south. Maybe your lighter's not working on the trail. Luckily, you brought a backup, your fire steel, you know, and some fat wood. So let's see, you know, if it'll work. At the same time, we'll be testing out that liner lock. So far, it's held up. Just to let everybody know. I mean, that ball bearing pivot is working real nice. Now, one thing, you know, I'm outdoors utilizing this on wood and it gets dusty and the ball bearing so far, so good. No rattle. So, looking good. Now, let's see. See, not as efficient as I want. However, with a little bit of force, and that's a good test, you know, for the liner lock, right? I am using a little bit of force to just make a small little pile over here. So, and you can see that that's making it. Now, will it do it to a piece of wood with bark? I'm not sure. I got to test. But again, if I'm making a small cup of coffee after everything I've done, hopefully I'm smart enough to have a lighter. And if not, this should be enough to spark up a little flame where you could then add you know, your sticks, your branches, whatever you find on the floor. I mean, there's plenty of dried leaves here, you know. It's not, one thing I noticed, it's not very efficient. Even though it's doing it, it's not like it's doing it, you know, easily. So you have to work at it a little bit, at least with this piece of fat wood. But as always, you know, you could always make some nice, very thin little pieces of fat wood here like that. See that? All right, using that knife. Let me just make sure I show you this in the camera. Look how nice and thin that is. Very minimal use of the fat wood, right? And you just add it to that little pile. Now, I want to start this because it is a little windy here and everything is pretty dry. So I just want to see now if at least the spine will spark. I am not sure, so let me just clean off this resin here. All right, that's free from all that resin. Now let's see. Very, very little, very, very little. This knife is under, I think it's under $40. So, you know, if you feel up to it, you can use a work sharp to sharpen this up a little bit, or, you know, before you go out into the field, you use a belt sander. You just make this a little bit sharp. But, you know, this is it's gonna take some. It's not major sparks, but at least you're getting something. That needs to be improved. However, you could do it yourself, you know. I doubt every time I've suggested something to these companies, they never do it anyway. So, but you know, you could do it yourself. In fact, you know what? Give me a few minutes. I'm gonna see if I could just sharpen this up a little bit with my Work Sharp Field Guide, just very slightly, and see if it'll spark up even better. One sec, troops. Okay, check this out. So I'm going back and forth on the not on the very fine, but on the fine portion of my field guide. And now look at the difference here. Major, just ever so slight. Look, check it out. Ever so slight modification. So if you don't mind, even though you spent your money, you don't mind that, you know, doing the job. Again, it's a tool. You want to enhance this tool. Everything is fine. But now we got an awesome tool that could spark up a ferro rod. Fantastic, man. This is great. I'm actually glad that I did that slight modification. Last but not least, if you're a hiker, hunter, fisherman, you know, whatever you need to make your hike more comfortable, your hunt more comfortable, whatever. I have a few things here that you might use at that site. Some twist ties, which I find is fantastic. Okay, piece of natural, pretty thick rope. It's decent, it's sturdy. All right, it's cut. And then some pretty heavy duty paracord. Okay, it's a great companion knife out in the woods, out in the field. Okay, I mean, there's nothing more to say here. So let's put everything up on this stump and let's conclude. Perfect little companion knife. I mean, how can you go wrong? It did a decent amount of work, and I didn't have to go hard on this one. You know what I'm saying? Just some very light work, and look what it accomplished. Nice small pieces for firebox stoves, feather sticks. It did camp chores. I was able to cut up a branch, delimb a branch, just a nice little blade. Combine that with a saw, man, it's going to do some work for you. Okay, you could be confident that it's going to do some work. Little modification, and now that spine is sparking a ferro rod big time. Fantastic. You can't go wrong. It's a great price. I think it's under $30. Don't quote me, but I'll leave a link in the description section. You can all go check it out. And man, oh man, I'm just pretty pleased with this folder. It's a nice big size. I love big folders. It did the job. The lock is intact. Stop bar is intact. Some slight modifications I made to it, which is now the spine, and just adjusting the detent on this blade. Man, I can't ask for anything better. Troops, Legionnaires, new recruits, I hope you enjoyed this. Let me know in the comments section below what you thought about my testing. I always want to know if there's anything else that I could do to enhance the experience for the knife enthusiasts out there. If you have any suggestions, let me know. Now, I don't bring food out here because, it's a bit of a walk and I have to bring a lot of stuff here. But other than that, man, let me know what else you think I could bring out here to test out. Let me bring awareness, everybody. Hashtag 22 a day. Hashtag 22 a day. No more to our veterans and active military. Once they get out of the service, they do face a lot of challenges. Unfortunately, one of these challenges is suicide. So at the end of this video, there's going to be slides. Pause on them. Call those phone numbers. Surf those websites. Get information. If you know somebody, reach out. Give them this information. And seek the help you all have earned and deserve. Troops, Legionnaires, new recruits, once again, thank you very much. At the ready, troops. Hold the line. Take care. Legionnaires!